keys to therapy. Today's episode is going to be all about what happens when you're sick as the therapist. What do you do? So we've all been in the position before where we've been at some sort of job and we either the night before or the morning of feel really sick, just not our best selves. Know that we probably shouldn't see clients that day, and that can be really tough to deal with as a therapist. I think most of the time when people are talking about some sort of illness when it comes to mental health therapy, it's more about like, well, if the client's sick and they late cancel or they no show, and do you charge or do you not, and all that stuff. I don't really hear enough people talking about what happens when you as a therapist is sick. How do you handle that? I think there's a lot of factors to that should be considered, and everybody should have a plan for how they want to handle that situation prior to it happening. So let's get into it here. First, therapists are people too. We get sick. Hopefully not often, and hopefully not anytime soon. It is like flu season. But we get sick sometimes. It happens. And I think the first thing is just make sure that you're nice to yourself about it. You know, I think sometimes therapists are really strict with how we come across to our clients, almost like some therapists think that they need to be very professional, maybe even like perfect to a certain extent. And that's just not the way it's always going to be. And it's also not true. Like, none of us are perfect. And you can be professional, and that definition for being professional is going to vary a lot. I mean, I saw somebody in one of the Facebook groups the other day post about like, I just have been out of the game for a while and I'm seeing all these therapists wearing jeans and it's strange to me because I wear a suit every day. I'm like, what? Therapists wearing jeans seems normal to me. A suit seems too formal to me. But again, everybody has different definitions of what professionalism looks like. But at the end of the day, everybody gets sick. It's going to happen to you. And I think it's good to have a plan. So just understanding that you're human, it's going to happen at some point. You're going to get sick and you're going to have to figure out how to cancel your day. And it's frustrating because you want to just be able to focus on getting better. So like I said, the more you can have this plan in place, better you're going to be. So sometimes you have a doctor's appointment or something that comes up. You've got to move some clients and things like that, and your schedule's just not going to stay consistent. So I think the best thing that you could do is, like I said, kind of have a plan for how you are going to handle it. And that's going to set you up. It's also going to help when you are onboarding new clients to be able to explain to them what happens. Because again, we always talk to them about like, well, if you're sick or you can't make the appointment, I need 24 hours notice or 48 hours notice or whatever the policy is where you're at. But you want to have that plan for you so that they understand that that's a possibility as well. Now, if you're in an agency or some sort of place where there's support staff, like there's an admin or there's a supervisor you have or somebody like that, it's a lot easier to be able to take the day off because you can just talk to them. You can call or text them and just be like, I'm really sick, can you guys reschedule my day? And normally they handle that for you, which is honestly really nice. But if you're in private practice, if you own your practice at least, and some group practice, especially for like a 1099, they'll have, like you're a contractor, you'll have to handle how you deal with the cancellations too. And that can be a little bit tougher because then you're the one that is having to tell the clients that you're sick and going to miss the appointment. And you've also got to figure out what you're going to do about that next. So some tips for developing your own sick policy is to work on guilt. I think that's sometimes the worst part of it is you feel bad canceling on the clients. You know, if you have to reschedule them and say you don't have an opening for another week or so, like that could be very tough. And if you can work on the guilt of, hey, clients cancel on us sometimes. You know, sometimes they have events they have to go to. Sometimes they're sick. Sometimes another appointment takes priority because they've been waiting for it for months, or they just need to get it done. I mean, there's a birthday party they need to go to. They're going on vacation. Client schedules change all the time from their perspective, right? Like they usually control that piece of it. So it's okay if sometimes our schedule needs to shift too because of what we're going through. And the majority of clients will understand that. The vast majority actually will understand that. So work on some of that guilt, because what I don't want for any of you is that you're sick and then you're just like, no, it's okay, I can just push through today. Now you feel like crap, and maybe you're missing tomorrow too because you didn't rest today. So you're just canceling on those clients, or you're not your best self and you're missing stuff in the session and you're not providing the best care to them possibly. So, I mean, and who wants to go to a session where somebody's coughing a ton or like blowing their nose? And that's just virtual. Obviously in person, like you definitely need to take more precautions and might be more likely to cancel. But if you know that you're virtual and part of you is like, nah, I can wear pajama pants in the session and no one will know, like I'll just push through. But you probably shouldn't be, or you wouldn't want your client pushing through that session if they felt the way you do. Don't do it. So get that mindset shifted to where it's like, okay, clients cancel, they get sick, they're people, therapists cancel, we get sick and we're people. It's just how it is. The other part is to really focus on you doing your best work. I know I personally wouldn't want a client showing up, especially being private pay. I'm like, you guys are paying me this whole fee and I'm not providing the best care. I'm kind of distant because I feel like crap and I'm just trying not to, you know, cough up a lung in the session or whatever it is. So really focusing on not so much like, can you work, but should you work as you're making those decisions about canceling your day. Now, if you do decide, yep, I'm feeling really sick, probably shouldn't be working, I'm going to go ahead and cancel my day. You have a couple options for how you want to handle that. And again, if you're in an agency or some more formal setting, it's going to be a bit different because they're going to have their own policies, or maybe their admin person knows to just put anybody you cancel on into any openings you have soon, and that's their stuff. But if you're in private practice, or like I say, you're a contractor at a private practice where you get to decide a little bit more about how your schedule works and how your policies are, then you do have some options for what to do if you cancel your day. So the first one is you can just move the client to a different time. So if you know that you're sick today on a Monday, for example, then you can cancel the day and maybe move them to Wednesday or Thursday if you think you'll be feeling better by then. You can also tell them, I'm hoping I'll be better by Wednesday, so we can schedule that day if you want to try it out. Worst case, I'm still feeling terrible and we got to move it again. And give them the option to decide how they want to handle it. And you can preface that by saying, I'm not sure how well I'll be. So yeah, you could just scoot the client over to a different day and time. It's typically like the most popular option. The second one is I've seen some therapists say, you know, a lot of them have a charge where if somebody late cancels, then they have to pay for the session. So sometimes some therapists, if they know, well, I'm late canceling on you, they'll go ahead and give clients that they've canceled on that day one free late cancel. So it's like, hey, I know I can't see you this week because I'm sick, but we'll consider, like, I'll add one free late cancellation to your chart. So if at some point you do have to late cancel on me in the next 6 months or the next year, have a time limit to it, then you'll get a freebie too. That makes the therapist feel better sometimes. Some clients take that easier because they feel like, oh, okay, well, you're respecting me and my time too. It's totally up to you. That's not a policy I personally have, but I know people that do, and that's fine. Again, it's whatever works for you. The third option is that you can schedule yourself a makeup day or time. So if you know today, Monday, you're too sick, that you can't work today, but Thursday you only have a half day, maybe then you add on the rest of the afternoon to move the Monday people too, so you don't lose the income and you can still see them. So some people will work, like, add one extra client to the end of each day for a couple days to accommodate the ones they canceled on. Some people, if they have Fridays off, they might move all the Monday clients that they canceled to that Friday. And then that way the client can get seen. They're not losing the income. They're just losing the time off. And they consider it like a fair trade. So that's an option as well. And the last option is to just let it be. Tell the clients that you're sick. You know, if they have regular appointment times and you know you're going to see them next week anyway, then just say, like, well, we're going to have to be off this week because I'm sick, but I will see you next Monday. Or if you know that you see them every other week, then letting them know, like, we might have to skip this one. Like I said, you could offer them a time that's open in the next couple weeks, but you just say, worst case, we just reconvene at a normal time in 2 weeks and see how it goes. So there's quite a bit of options that you can use when you're the one that's canceling on them. But there's some factors to consider too. because it's not always that concrete. So money is a big option, like, or that's a big factor to consider as, you know, kind of deciding which option to choose when it comes to scheduling. Some therapists, if they're like, no, I'm good financially, like I can just take the whole day and I'll just see them next week or the week after, whenever all these people are scheduled. And they're good money wise. They don't need to worry about it. The ones that maybe feel like they're starting out, or maybe their fees lower, or maybe they just have more expenses and they just need to get that money, then they're the ones that typically will add on to their day, or work that day off that week or whatever else. So I get it. Money's a big factor. So do what you need to do to feel good about your finances, because it is rough working in any type of private practice setting, or where you're very much like service based and you're only getting paid based off who you see. It's tough to lose an entire day of income. So that may be a factor for sure. And the other factor to really consider too is how stable your clients are. So if you're working with a population that maybe is not the most stable, then you might have to figure out some way to get that client in sooner than later if you're canceling on them, or, you know, go over their safety plan or something else as you cancel. So maybe emailing them like, hey, I can't meet today. Here's the other openings I have. And I attached a copy of your safety plan that we created just in case you need something else. Or here's the crisis resources if something comes up between now and when we meet next. So you've got that option too. But I know that money and the stability of the client are like the two biggest factors in what you decide to do with that cancellation. So the most important thing though is to remember that you need to have the policies and procedures that work best for you and your values. If you can, and I know again it's a privilege to be in your own and be the boss of your own place, and be in that position to make your own choices. Sometimes you're not, and you're in a hospital, and you know, you're at an agency or community mental health, whatever else, and you don't really get much of a choice. So if you took that day off, you took that day off, and that's that. But if, you know, or the policies are the policies of the place. But if you are at a point you're creating your own practice, or possibly if you are at one of those more formal type of work settings and you don't like how things are being run, then take note of that somewhere for if or when you eventually have more say and control over your policies. But just do what works best for you and your values, because you want to feel good about the decision you're making and what you're talking to the clients about and how you're working. So just keep all of that in mind as you're developing your own sick policy. So I hope that that is helpful as you guys are putting together what that's going to look like for you. Maybe you've had some of your own experiences, your own feelings of guilt with canceling with clients, or stuff that's come up for you before. But I think make sure you have something in place so you're not trying to figure all this out in the moments that you're sick and need to prioritize your health. So get that going. But if you want to follow along with future videos, then go ahead and subscribe below and stick with the channel. And if you want to join the Facebook group or the email list, those links are below too, and be part of the community. But until then, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.